My name is Bob Stewart, and we're going to talk today about 5 ways your CRM can make you more money. Maybe one of the reasons I'm qualified to do this is I train Ben Kinney's Place World and all of our 100 place teams on how they leverage the Brivity platform to grow their business. And so, look, there's a lot of stuff happening inside the Brivity platform. In fact, this is kind of the map of what it looks like. And so, Kevin, on the left-hand side of this map, it starts with traffic and this idea that we know, I mean, you guys know, but like we really know where home buyers and sellers are lurking and sitting, right? In some cases, that's, at home behind their mailbox or behind their door, behind their phone. In some cases, that's online on Google or Zillow or Facebook or wherever they're at. Okay, coming through your open house. We believe if we put the right content and messaging in front of those people, right, they get your postcard and it says the right thing or it has the right call to action, we can capture them. And the medium for capturing that contact into our CRM, right, as we move to the right across this screen, the medium is going to be based on where that traffic is at. Right, if we're walking up, Kevin, and knocking on their door, we're probably going to capture their information like on the Go app, right? The Brivity Go app. If they're behind their mailbox, Randy, and we're going to capture that probably through the website or maybe with a quickly code off of our mail. But we know no matter how we capture them, if we get them into the CRM, it's not very often that they raise their hand immediately, Randy. They're like, I want to go buy a house tomorrow. Like that doesn't happen, right? We have to nurture these people generally. Some of them aren't going to buy for 12 months, 18 months, 3 years. Kevin, we have leads that we sold houses to this year in our organization that came in 3-5 years ago, right? So we have to nurture them. There's a certain way we nurture buyers: listing alerts, auto plans, phone calls, right? There's a certain way we nurture sellers: market reports, potentially auto plans, checking in with phone calls. Eventually, those people raise their hand and they say, hey, we want to go see a house, or Kevin, can you come over and tell me what mine's worth, right? And at that point, your real job as a real estate agent, Kevin, is getting contracts signed. Like that's when you get paid, when contracts get signed, right? But we've got to manage those contracts because you don't actually get paid, I guess, until the signed contract closes, right? And we deliver on that contract, but Brivity does all that. We help you manage that. And at the very end of the day, on the right-hand side of this whole thing, like, look, I know you guys say, a lot of people will bring up these reasons I got into the business, which I think are all like honorable, right? I got in to help people, Kevin, to make a difference. The reality is most of us are here for a paycheck. Like, look, those are awesome side effects, right, of the real estate industry. But the reality is, like, we're here to pay our mortgage, to put our kids through school, to have a better life, right? So when we get that high five paycheck, we're in the green box. Like, there's a byproduct of that. We have past clients that hopefully want to do business with again. We want to nurture those people. We want them to refer us business. The other byproduct is profit, which maybe we invest back in the business, right? And we start this cycle again. And look, when you leave the call here today, Khalid, you're going to go do something in one of these lanes, right? You're either going to be trying to find clients, you're going to be trying to help clients, you're going to be trying to nurture clients, you're going to be trying to close those contracts or move those transactions along, right? You're doing something on this map, and Brivity covers all of the lanes on this map. Now, let's talk about some specific elements of Brivity that if you lean into these things, they're going to help you increase your business. And Kevin, this year, I guess it's early enough this year, 2022. If you want to do more business, right, than you did last year, you have 2 options, Kevin. And I know you love your cars, man. So I know which option you're going to pick. You have one option, which is work more hours, right, Kevin? Just work more hours. Wife and kids, forget about them. Your classic fancy cars in the garage, no time for that, right? Go work more hours. Or you can get more efficient, right? You can build leverage into your world. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about. I don't think that anybody showed up to be like, oh, work more hours. Awesome, Randy. I'll just go do that. Like, we all know that's an option, right? Here's some other options. So we've got this concept of what we call the lead flow model, which is when a lead comes into our world on any of our 102 now, I think, place teams, okay, that lead is going to quickly be routed to the right agent. An auto plan is going to be notified, and within 5 minutes, no matter where that lead came from in our world, it's going to have communication start with it. And most often, Kevin, you know this, most often that communication is going to be specifically targeted at where that lead came in from, right? We're not going to say just generic, hey, thanks for connecting with the Ben Kinney team business. Like, we're going to say, hey, thanks for checking out our listing on Zillow.
We want to talk to buyers like buyers. We want to talk to sellers like sellers.
That's right.
We want to talk to our sphere like our sphere.
You got it. This Brivity lead flow model starts by routing the lead, right? Make sure it goes to the right agent based on where that lead's at, what price point that lead's in, their intention. Are they a buyer? Are they a seller? And we can route a lead based on a variety of different factors to make sure it gets to the right agent. From that point, we have what we call auto plans that we set up with triggers. That's our terminology here at Brivity. There's other systems that have, similar things with different terminology. Our auto plans make sure our leads, every single lead in our world, gets communicated with. And there's some studies out there about internet leads that are like hard to read, I guess I'd say, right? That, like a big percentage in our industry of internet leads get no response at all. And we see those leads sometimes inside of Brivity on, people that just haven't set these tools up yet. But there are leads that come into our industry that just don't get a response. Not in Brivity's world, right? Not in our team's world anyway.
Someone's going to respond to them, though, right, Bob? If we don't respond, someone's going to respond.
Yeah, Kevin, because the reality is, like, it might not be today, right? But at some point, they're going to need our services. And if we didn't reach out when they kind of inquired about, they're going to inquire about them to somebody else, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. So auto plans. Now, our auto plans include things like tasks for the agent to call. We even put scripts in our auto plans. By the way, we'll share our auto plans with you. We'll give you everything. If you're not a Brivity client and you become one, or if you are today and you're not sure how to get your hands on them, reach out to support. But we will give you all of Ben Kinney's team's auto plans, all of the place business auto plans, the ones for our different forms of leads and the ones we use to follow up, and even the ones we use to like manage our transactions. Now you'll have to kind of retool them to match what you do in your business, because I doubt it's the same things that we do, but that's okay. You have a great starting point. Now it's going to be tasks for agents to do things, right? Call, set up listing alerts, set up market reports, kind of the different aspects of what we know works to convert leads. It's going to be texts, automatic texts, and automatic emails, okay? They can trigger based on things like the source, Kevin, the intent, right? We talked about this already. I could have Zillow buyer leads get one type of plan. I could have my seller leads for my website get a different type of plan, right? I could build, we've got a thing called Brivity Marketer where I can build my own Facebook ads. On those ads, I can build tag campaigns. So I could build very specific ad sets that then fired a very specific auto plan. And this stuff is not hard. I promise you, my mom does this stuff, Kevin, right? My mom is an amazing real estate agent, by the way, but she's kind of average tech savviness for a 63-year-old lady, right? She's a smart lady, but she didn't grow up with computers like some of us did. She runs all these campaigns. She creates these auto plans. She sets up the triggers. Which plans should you set up first? If you have a business right now, here's the kind of 4 or 5 plans that I would make sure are in place in your business right now. And Kevin, maybe you can go track down our auto plan library. And if they're a current Brivity client, Kevin will throw our auto plan library into the chat there, and you can hop over there, jump on that auto plan library, and copy any of the plans we have right into your account. If you're not a Brivity client, when you become one, then you'd be able to jump in to this auto plan library and grab different plans we're using. So website buyer leads, we're going to make sure all our website buyer leads are getting a plan. We call that the 10 days of pain, right? It's really aggressive plan designed to get a response out of that consumer in the first 10 days. It actually lasts 14, Kevin. We've made it a little bit more painful over the years. Open house leads. We run the auto plans that are open house leads, and they have these delayed, they delayed triggers, or the trigger fires, but the first text doesn't go out for 2 hours. Right, Kevin? So look, Kevin's in Austin, so I'm sure when he gets done with his open houses, it's beautiful outside still, and he goes out and, you know, he enjoys like an afternoon at the lake. Here in Washington, this time of year, when your open houses are over, you immediately scurry back into your home because it's raining everywhere, Randy. Right? But I know what you don't want to be doing when you get home is entering a bunch of people into your database, right? And then going and figuring out setting up their listing alerts and figuring out when you're going to call them. Kevin, we have a tool in Brivity. If you do an open house, there's a form you can put on your computer or your iPad, or they can even shoot it as a QR code and fill it out on their own phone, right? And when they do it, it feeds them right into the CRM. Now we have auto plans that fire right when that happens, when that lead comes in, but it doesn't send a text right away, because that'd be super weird. Kevin, like walking around the house with them, and all of a sudden they're getting a text from me like, "Hey, thanks for stopping by my open house," and they're like, "What is going on?" That'd be weird.
It does what you intend to do right after the open house, right? But all of us forget, and if you reach underneath the seat, you're going to find that old open house. Everyone go check your seat after the webinar. You're going to find an old open house form. It eliminates all that. Plus it does that communication that you wanted to do, staying in touch with them.
That's right. Yeah. Two hours. You can change it 3 hours later. We don't care how long after, but they'll get a text. "Hey, thanks for dropping by our open house. After having a little time to drive around the area, did you guys have any more questions?" Right? If they don't reply a little bit later, "Hey, I forgot to ask if you guys wanted to make an offer on the home. We promised the seller we'd ask every single person that came through if they wanted to make an offer." There's a whole series of texts that happened over the next 10 days to try to get this person to engage with you. Quickly leads. So we've got a thing called Quickly, which is our text to lead service. So people can drive by your listing, and instead of jumping out again here in Washington in the rain and, you know, under the cover of darkness to grab the flyer and jump back in the car, they can text a short code to get information about that property. It's tapped into the MLS, keeps everything updated. When somebody drives by one of our listings and does that, within a couple minutes, they're going to have an automatic text from us. "Hey, thanks for driving by our listing. Did you get all the information you needed via text? When's a good time to give you a call to chat?" Our seller leads. Any of our seller leads, auto plans, right? We're going to start the conversation. Now, we're going to call them in the first 24 hours, hopefully. That's our aim anyway. But they're going to get communication in the first 5 minutes, always. And then every one of our teams has some kind of an outside source, whatever that, you know, HomeLight or Zillow or Realtor.com or, you know, whatever it is, Dave Ramsey, right? We've got an auto plan set up for that. So it's, "Hey, thanks for checking out our listing on Zillow," right? The auto plan speaks to where the person came from, because we can trigger it. We can route leads, and we can trigger auto plans based on things like source and intent. And then when you guys get here, if you're like, "Oh my God, that Ben Kinney guy, he's super aggressive. Like they really hammer on people. I need something a little bit less aggressive to help, you know, to match my personality."
I love texting. You hate responding.
Yeah. That's such a good text, by the way. "I love texting. You hate responding." We use that one. It's like kind of at the end of the auto plan, and people like fall over themselves to apologize. Like, no, I'm sorry. I've just been really busy for the last 2 weeks. That's why I haven't responded. Or no, it's not you. It's me. We're not quite ready yet, you know. But if you don't like our plans, you can go ask the community, and we've got a really active community on Facebook. You go ask them for plans. Does anybody have a XYZ plan? Because Ben's just way too aggressive. All right, next thing that you should be leveraging, and like I just had somebody tell me yesterday, like, thank you, I guess, for it's not, they just heard it from me. right? This is a philosophy that Ben's been deploying in his business. We've been deploying in the business for years. Nurture home buyers with targeted listing alerts. Now, look, Kevin, I built our first CRM in like 2001. And that's when we took a feed from the Northwest MLS. And we've had listing alerts ever since. Like, this is in no way at all, like groundbreaking technology, right? This has been around here. Randy knows this. She was the executive at one of the MLSs. Like, listing alerts, because we've had an IDX feed, have been a thing for 20 years. Kevin, something we do that's a little bit different is we put them on to everybody. Like, everybody and anybody, if they're in our database, and like, if we look in there and we're like, I don't know who this is. I don't know where this came from. This contact's been in my database for 15 years, right? 12 years, 8 years. I've been dragging this thing around from system to system to system. I never really call them, but they're in here. We give them a listing alert. And it's guys, I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. It's every single buyer prospect. It's every single, I'm not sure what that is, prospect. It's everybody.
The reality is most sellers become a buyer first, right? So if we can be the ones to send them that perfect home in the perfect location at the perfect price, then we've done our job, and now we've picked up a potential seller.
What you guys think about this? Zillow gets like 50 million, and I don't know what their, it varies seasonality and month to month, but they get 50 to 60 million visitors every single month show up on Zillow. There's 5 to 5.5 million home sales in the United States all year. So like, people just like to look at real estate. Like, it's very, very rare that we send somebody a listing alert and they respond angry. Like, what are you doing? Right? Why are you giving me this real estate? And look, here's the reality, Kevin. If that happens, good. We don't want to work with that a-hole anyway, right? Like, let's just suss out all the a-holes, Randy. We'll just get rid of all of them. Right? If we set a listing alert up on everybody, we can just find the one person that's just waiting for somebody to rip their head off, right? Oh, what are you doing? I'm going to report you to somebody. Okay, bud, just hit unsubscribe. Super simple.
What I love about our listing alerts is they all drive them to your website. So now you're introducing or reintroducing your website to people in your world that you know and people that you don't know.
Yeah, let's get them on the website. In a minute, I'm gonna talk about why it's really important we get them on the website. But so, look, all we need to know about a lead to give them a kind of a specific listing alert, right, that might actually speak to them is where and how much. Like, if I'm running a campaign for a listing in Kirkland, right? Maybe I'm using Brivity Marketer. I'm running a Facebook ad. By the way, we're getting it, Kevin, I don't remember the number, $2.75 a lead or something like that, right? That's what Brivity Marketers Facebook leads are coming in at these days, but I'm running it out there and it's for a $600,000 house. If that's the house they click on, where and how much? Kirkland, $600,000. Awesome. They're going to get a listing alert in Kirkland, kind of based on my market, right? It's somewhere between 10 and 20% of the, up and down, right? So 600,000, maybe I go down to 500 up to 700, right? That'd be about 18% of room in there on both sides. We're just looking to find a bracket of price range somewhere around that property they were interested in or clicked on or looked at or came to my open house at. And then where is it? Now, often, I don't know where they're looked. Like, sometimes I have leads in my database, especially if you guys have, like, if you're a Brivity client, you moved to Brivity, right? Or you're not yet, but you're going to be, and you're going to move to Brivity. You're going to have a bunch of leads. I guarantee there's some data in that database that you were just like, I don't know. So we just give them something generic. So this is in my mom's market, but said my mom was an agent, right? She sells in Olympia, Washington. And my mother will do 2 cities, like in that market, Olympia and Tacoma are kind of the major cities. So it's like, all right, listing alert, Olympia, Tacoma. There's 15 other cities around, Shelton and Lacey and, Gig Harbor and on and on and on, right? But just Tacoma and Olympia, 250 to 400,000. And that she might be a little bit higher these days. Our market's super aggressive and prices are climbing fast. It's just a generic price range in our major cities. I had a person yesterday. We're setting up. We're going through his account. He sells in the Triad area of North Carolina, right? Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem. And at first we were talking, well, what's your generic going to be? And he said, well, I said, what are your major cities? He said, Greensboro, High Point, and Winston-Salem. And I said, okay, cool. We're going to do those 3 cities. What's the price point? He said, let's do 200 to 400. And then he was like, actually, you know what? Let's just do all of Guilford County. Guilford County is the county that covers those 3 cities. If we just do the whole county, then we catch all those other small little cities, right? So now our listing alerts that we went back and we're bringing him over from somewhere else, right? He's got all these leads in there. They were old Facebook leads from 4 years ago, Kevin. He's got like 800 of them. So we're going to go in. They're all going to get a listing alert because in that time he was running a bunch of Facebook ads for properties around where he sells in Guilford County. So they were clearly looking at a home in Guilford. Now we'll set up 800 listing alerts, Guilford County, 200 to 400,000. What we find when we do that, it doesn't matter how old the leads are. We buy leads from people that have databases that have leads in them from 8 years ago. We'll buy, Ben has like a standing bounty. If you go out of business in one of his offices, he'll put an offer on your database to buy it from you if you leave the business. Why? Because we know every single time we do it and just apply these listing alerts, 15 at a minimum, 15% of those people engage our website at some point over the next 30 days. Why would we not want, like, go into your, we even have a tool where you can do it in bulk. So go find some old source in your database. Be like, oh, here's like, what are, you can even go into the reporting. And I do this when I first engage a team. I'm like, let's go look at your reporting. What's all your sources? Let's want to see all the sources of contacts you have all time. And then I'll look to them and be like, oh, hey, look at this. You got a bunch of old BT buyer paid, it'll say, right? Boomtown paid buyer ads. When did you have Boomtown? I say, I had Boomtown 6 years ago. And I'm like, awesome. Let's go set all those leads up on listing alerts. Because there's money in there, I promise you. Look, those people might have bought 5 years ago, but they're ready to buy again and sell again. How many of you guys have the same email address from 5 years ago? I do. Unfortunately, I've got 3 other ones now too, but I check them all at some point, Randy, right? I check them all at some point. All right, market reports. So we're going to get every single buyer lead on a listing alert. If we know anything about them, that's what we'll use, right? City price. If we don't know anything about them, every one of us on this call needs a generic. Okay, market reports. Every prospect in our database every prospect in our database that has an address, a physical address, and an email is going to be getting a market report from us. No question. If they're in our market, if they're in a different market we don't cover, we can't send them because our MLS doesn't have that data, right? But if they're in our market, they're getting them. And it's like, look, love or hate Zillow, and I have some opinions. I actually think that like they give agents an opportunity that maybe if they weren't in business, they would not have that opportunity. And we can talk about that on the side. But it is kind of a shame that they were able to stand up in the middle of our industry back in 2006, 5 and 6 when they did. Because the reality is we had the data that Zillow used to lure our consumers to them. Right? Our MLS has had the data. It had the solds and the pendings and all that stuff way back, but they were hesitant to put it into the hands of like vendors like Brivity to then make tools for you guys to be able to go out and spread the sold prices, for example. And look, I get the politics of it and in some states, the legality, right? Because you can't share sold in some of the non-disclosure states. But if we had tools like market reports back in 2006, it would have been a lot harder for Zillow to stand up because what was happening is our customers were like, I want to know what my neighbor's houses are selling for. And the MLSs are like, you got to go talk to a real estate agent to get that information. It's not available on these public tools. And Zillow went, let's just go to the recorder's offices and collect all this data and then bring it back to the consumer. And we'll just circumvent all this data the real estate agents are sitting on. And that's unfortunate. Now, today, we've got these tools where we can make sure we are not forcing our customers to have to go to Zillow or to have to go Google what the name. And so we we use this ridiculous analogy, but like, Captain, I've never met your wife, but you speak very highly of her. She's clearly an amazing individual. She's willing to put up with you for all these years. So like, would you send her when she gets home tonight on a speed dating event? No, probably not, right? Like,
Silly. No.
look, it's silly, ridiculous, silly. Like, when my wife walks in, right, I'm not going to be like, honey, I got you tickets for speed dating, right? Like, go have a great time, meet all these really, really handsome men with big wallets and big muscles. And I'm pasty. They all got great tans. Like, go do it. Have a great time. Like, that'd be crazy. Now, if tonight, let's just everybody close your eyes. Imagine your client drives into their neighborhood where they live, right? And there's a sold sign on that house. Now, that house has been on the market for, in most of our, like 3 days, right? It's been on for 3 days. They've seen the sign up there for 3 days. They've already at some point, maybe crept over and grabbed the flyer if that place has a flyer. They've pulled up, some at Zillow, whatever, and they know what it's listed for. But now it's got sold on it, right? They're like, oh, what does it sell for? What does it sell for? They're going to find out. I promise you. Somehow, they're going to find out. Maybe they're going to call the number on the sign, call the agent. I don't know. Maybe they're going to go to Zillow or to Redfin, or maybe they're going to go to Google and Google, how much did that house in my neighborhood sell for? But when they do that, if they have to go anywhere other than me, there's a chance that I'm sending them on a speed dating event. Like, go out, go to Googs, type it in. Look, if you go to Google and you're in one of our markets, you're going to find us. Right? You don't want your client going out to Google in a market where Ben Kinney has a place operation, them Googling, and that person ended up in our database. Because they're going to get our market reports. They're going to get called a bunch. They're going to get loved. Like, we're going to try to steal them from you. Don't let that happen, right? Because there is always a real estate agent with a sexier marketing photo or a bigger marketing wallet, right? All right. Past clients, Sphere, any seller leads that we have, right? Literally any homeowner in my database that I have their address and an email, so I can send them that report once a week, every 2 weeks, or once a month. And then we also do this on buyers. And there's a whole strategy. Here's why we do it on buyers. So like listing alerts, right? Send new properties every day, Randy. New property, there's 3 new properties that meet the criteria. But what a listing alert doesn't do, unless they are like really tracking it and paying attention, is tell them what happened to that house that we sent them 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago, we sent you this new listing, but a listing will just keep sending them new listings. Now it'll send them stuff like a price change, right? A price drop, stuff like that. But we will send a buyer. Let's say I have a buyer set up on a listing alert in Bellingham, Washington for 400 to 500,000. I've talked to them. They're like, this is what we want. I'm looking at this price range, and like, cool. Then we send them a market report once a week. And what a market report has on it is everything active in that area, right? So if you think about a seller, it's everything active around your house right now. Everything pending in that area, everything pending around your house right now, and everything that's sold in the last 30 days, and the prices, assuming we're in a state that's not a non-disclosure state, but the prices of what those homes sold for. Now, for a buyer, if they're looking in Bellingham between 400 and 500,000, we'll give them a market report for Bellingham 400 to 500,000. So each day they see the new listings, and then once a week we show them what's been happening with those listings that we've been sending out to them. Oh, remember that one we sent you a week and a half ago that you kind of liked? And remember, Randy, you grabbed your partner and you were like, hey, we should go see this one. And your partner was like, no, we got to go to church this weekend and the kids' soccer game. And you're like, oh, but come on, please, let's go see it. And they're like, we don't have time. And then you see it on your market report a week later and it's sold or pending. And you're like, oh, dang it, I love this house. Right? Maybe next time.
You hide that report at that time.
Yeah, you hide it.
You should have listened to me.
I know.
All right.
Next time I will. Next time, Randy, I'll listen to you, right? Next time the house comes in and we really like it, we should figure out how to get out there and see it because this market's crazy right now. The other thing it will do is if Randy's looking at her market report every time it comes out and she's seeing these houses in the neighborhood she wants to live going for 20, 40, 50,000 over what they're asking for them because it's a crazy market right now. the one she falls in love with, she's not going to come to her agent and go, listen, I love this house, but I know it's listed at $600,000. I think we should start with a $500,000 offer. Like they're going to become educated about the market that they're trying to buy into, right? So it will create a more educated buyer. It may put some pressure on that buyer when they realize what's happening in that area where they'd really like to live one day. So we do them for, like my mom has like 6,200 contacts in her database. She's got 5,800 market reports set up. Like you're either a buyer or a seller, right? Like you're going to get a market report for something. And look, every once in a while she gets somebody that says, hey, could you please stop sending me this? I can't figure out where the unsubscribe button is. I mean, that last part's left unsaid, right? But it's more frequently, Kevin, that she gets what we call come list me emails. And my mom's always sharing them in the Brivity Masterminds group. And at some point I'm like, Mom, can you knock it off? Like, we get it. Like once a month, you get a come list me email, right? And she does it so that you guys will go and like get everybody set up on one of these things. All right. One other thing about this, because I see this all the time. And I was in with a team yesterday and we were going and looking at the results, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. When we go set these lists and alerts and market reports up, there's results and we can go take action on those results. And we were doing this yesterday with the gentleman, and like the first 3 market reports we looked at, when we pulled them up to see what the consumer had seen when they looked at it, there was nothing on them. Randy, you were on that call with me. There was nothing on them.
Absolutely. There was nothing within a mile for the
mile of their house. There wasn't one active property there, or there was like one pending on one of them. Maybe one of them
exactly
sold. And now Randy and I immediately both were like, wow, that's a great phone call to have with that consumer, because the call is, holy cow, if anybody wanted to live within a mile of where you live, they'd have to buy your house if you put it on the market today, right? Because there's no other houses for sale, period. Now, we encourage people to be as generic as possible with those market reports. And I'll give you an example. I live in a 3-story townhome in Kenmore, Washington. And my wife and I bought our townhome, it's getting close to 4 years ago now, for $660,000. So if you did a market report for me, right, and you were my agent, Randy, so if you were my agent, you'd know I have a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, right? It's 2,900 square feet. And so if you went in and said, look, I only want to show Bob other houses that are 3 beds, 3.5 baths, between 25 and 3,000 square feet in Kenmore, right? Send him that market report. First off, there might not be a whole lot like that in here. I kind of have a unique in terms of the square footage for the townhome I have here in Kenmore. It's a little bit unique. So there's not a lot of other properties just like mine here. Then down the street from me right now, they're building, they're kind of similar. They're 3-story townhomes, but they're like 1,600 to 1,700 square feet. Mine's 2,900 square feet. So if you put some parameters on my market report, I wouldn't see those ones, right? They'd be outside of my parameters. But I'm super curious, Randy, what those ones down the street are selling for right now, right?
Absolutely.
Like 3.5 years later, they're 12 to 1,300 square feet. They're selling for more than we bought our house for a couple years ago. So my wife and I are high-fiving every time one of those sells, right? We're like, high five, honey. Like, I don't know how much ours is worth, but it's worth way more than that, right? I want to see that on my market report. If it wasn't on there because you made it so restricted, like it's generic. There's no criteria. It's show them everything happening around them. People are smart enough to know that if they have a 1,500 square foot house and a 3,000 square foot house sells for 800,000, their house is not worth 800,000. Like, that house was way bigger than ours, right? But it does give them a sense of what's going on in the market. All right. Some people are smart enough to start doing price per square foot calculations and start to come to their own. One thing we don't do, by the way, on the market reports, Gavin, and there's a real particular reason for it, we could easily do it, we have the data, is we do not put estimates of what their house is worth.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is we don't want you guys to be dripping on prospects in your database, your sphere, your past clients, potential seller leads, giving them this number that they might be like, Randy doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Our house is worth way more than that. And they never even reach out to Randy because they're irritated by this manufactured algorithm number, right? So we just show them the data, you guys. We just show them what the neighbors' houses have actually sold for, not some estimate of what we think maybe theirs could sell for, right?
And I think you just touched on one of the most important pieces of that market report, in my opinion, is it's the thing you can send to your friends, your family, your sphere, your neighbors, the people that are in your world that you always want to be thought of top of mind, but we don't know what to send them.
Yeah. What do we send them instead, Kevin? What kind of stuff do we send them?
Go clean your gutters.
Right.
Here's 10 things you can do with dryer lint. My pie recipe.
The cherry pie recipe. There we go.
Nailed it, right?
Change your clocks. I'm like, look, I do have 2 wall clocks still in my home that I have to manually change, but I know to change them because every other clock in my life automatically changes, right? Like I don't need an email from my real estate agent telling me to change clocks. What I need is something to let me know what those townhomes down the street are selling for. That's what I need from my real estate agent, right? That's like you guys, it is the most valuable thing that you are sitting on is that sales data about what's happening in their neighborhood, which is impacting what for most people in your database is their largest financial asset. Okay, so great. We got them set up. What do we do now? Every day we check the results. Every single day we check the results. And like, I want you to like, especially Thursdays and Fridays, Kevin, because on Thursdays and Fridays, there's an interesting study about like the progression throughout the week of what people who are at work look at on their computer in their free time at work. And like at Thursday and Friday, they look at the things that are like that their weekend is going to present. So if you have somebody that's really like they're in the market, maybe they haven't found their agent yet, but they're like, open houses is a thing. Like, I don't care how you personally feel about them. We generate hundreds of transactions from open houses every year. It's probably more in the thousands because it's a real massive pillar of our place business model. But there is no like better place to find business than people that are like showing interest right now. So on a Thursday or a Friday, if I had people on my website who are looking at houses, especially Kevin, we see them sometimes looking at the house for the second time, for the third time, for the 5th time. You're like, oh my gosh, this person's looked at this house 5 times now for the last 2 days. There's a decent chance that the people that are going to be closest to buying a house, right, in my database right now, that are looking at houses on a Thursday or Friday may want to go see one of those this weekend. And if we don't offer it, they'll figure out how to go see it, right? And a lot of those houses, the reason they're looking at them is their new listings that have come in their listing alerts, which means it's highly likely that weekend there's going to be an open house on them, right? And in most of our markets, they're probably going to have an offer review date on Tuesday or something. So when we see people, especially later in the week, that are on our website looking at properties, we are calling them with some very specific scripts. Hey, Jim, it's Bob Stewart. I saw you were looking at this house on our website here in Seattle listed at $850,000. What a beautiful house. You know, that house just hit the market. You know that because it came out in my listing alert this morning. At that price, Howard, that thing's going to be gone by Tuesday. Like they have an offer review date on Tuesday. If you like that at all, let's get out. We can meet early. I can meet you on Friday. Let's get out and see it before the open house. Because if you really did like it, we'd want to get a leg up on all those people that are going to be coming through on Saturday. Right?
Real powerful piece of what we're showing here is that last visit. It shows 10 minutes ago to an hour ago. How often in this business do we have a chance to connect with someone while we're top of mind? Right? What a great opportunity to connect with them while we're still fresh on their mind.
Love it. Sometimes I'll come in here. This is a real account. This is one of our place teams. This is Pedro Casanova down in the Miami area. This is his stuff. I just put his website or his database in order by who's been on his website most recently. This Adil Loster, she was on his website 14 minutes ago. And when we come in here, we can see, look at her. I swear to you guys, I did not do this. This is just what we see, right? Like we've been on this webinar for the last 14 minutes. Like I don't have any part of this, but look at this lady. Look at this. Like, so, and here's my guess on what's been happening with this property. She saw it in a listing alert first. She liked it enough 2 days later to show it to somebody. I would guess this is at a price drop. I'll bet the price dropped on this, which then it got sent out to her in another listing alert. So she looked at it again. This lady's looked at this house 4 times. if I'm calling now, the only problem with calling her and talking about this one is there's one she's looked at 6 times, and there's another one she's looked at 5 times. Like this is very aggressive behavior, right? And look, she's not the only one in here. She was here 14 minutes ago, but 34 minutes ago, and 42 and 43 and 44 and an hour ago and 2 hours ago. And man, Sylvia's like, she might just be one of those looky-loos, right? She looked at 700 listings, and every day Pedro's team is coming back here to see who's newly shown up. We talk about this, Randy, as being like our storefront, right? And when people walk into your storefront, at least for me, Calvin, like if I walk into a store and the person says, hey, can I help you find anything? Like, what's your go-to line, Calvin?
I'm usually like, "No, I'm good. I'll just look around for now. I'll let you know if I need something."
I'll say, I'm just browsing. Thanks. No, I'm just browsing around. Right. Or I'll make some stupid joke like, no, I'm just wasting time while my wife's doing something, like, but I don't want to talk to them. That's what happens when we call these people and say, hey, Edel, I saw you on our website. Do you have any questions? Right. They'll say, oh, no, we're just browsing right now, and then it'll be this awkward, like, okay, what do I say now? Instead, maybe it's just my personality or whatever, but if I walk into a store and they might say, hey, how's it going? What brings you today? And I say, I'm just browsing over. Then I go off and I like pick a shirt up. The people that get me all the time are the ones that will come up and be like, oh, hey, that's a cool shirt. That'd go really great with these shorts. Like, if nothing else, Calvin, I'm like, okay, fine, give them both to me. I'll try them on, right? Like, there's a level of like, okay, at least I'll try them on. Like, thanks for the effort, right? So when we call Edel, we don't say, hey, Edel, I saw you on the website, right? We say, Edel, we're so glad you were on the website today and checking out. I saw that you there's a couple properties on there you like. There's one you looked at like 6 times. They just dropped the price on that one. That's why it came out to you in the listing alert again. Do you remember looking at it a couple weeks ago? What do you love about that house? What keeps drawing you back to it? Like, I'm going to have it's going to be hard for her to be like, I was just browsing, right? When I'm like, I know you've looked at it a bunch. Like, tell me, what is it about that house you love? Do you remember looking at it before? Like, so we're going to take action. We're going to lean into that data that comes up in this database because we set those tools up, right? He's going to come in here today. They're going to call the people that have been on their market reports, right? And when we get enough of these people set up on these tools, it's why we are exhaustively trying to get as many prospects as possible, because this is the pressure the database needs to get people to float up. And when these people float up, like Johnny Castillo did 2 hours ago, looking at his market report, by the way, he'd been kind of dormant for a little while. He hadn't looked all through the summer and in the spring. And even though previously he'd been on it, kind of know what was on there, right? This guy's like, we might be the first person on the face of the earth that knows Johnny Castillo's like thinking about what his neighbors' houses are worth. And every day that they have a number of opportunities to call and have really great conversations at the right time with people. Okay, let's keep moving. We beat that one to death. But guys, if you become a Brivity client, you do any of our stuff, you'll know we are ultra laser focused on that stuff because we want our teams to be able to call the right person at the right time.
It's important to mention we provide training on doing exactly that, combing through your database, finding opportunities,
right
doing
here,
market reports, doing listing alerts every day.
The top 10. So we have a routine we've created. Kevin has a class where he trains on this routine. We do once a week. We run this class. You can watch the recording. You can join Kevin live and ask questions. We call it the daily top 10. Like the routine of if you come into your database each day and sit down and thought to yourself, I want to find the opportunities in my database today. What should I do? This is what you would do. And we lay it out for you. And we talk about it. In fact, on our happy hour tonight, for Brivity clients, if you're a client on happy hour, we're going to dive into this top 10. We're going to go through it. We're going to talk about where to go and what to click on. And there's 10 steps here. That's a daily routine. So they're doing it daily, right? They're checking the results of those listing alerts daily. Why? Because it's part of this routine on our teams. Like that's kind of how we end up doing it daily. Okay. These last two things, I don't know. I lost track. I think we're at 5 already. I don't know. Retargeting and remarketing. These are two concepts. Ben came to us a while back and said, let's get better at helping our people convert leads, right? Leads are hard. It's hard to convert an internet lead. You know, most teams don't have auto plans and listing alerts and market reports. And, you know, we've got some tools to help you. But what we realized is most databases have thousands of contacts that in the course of any given year never get reached out to. And so we wanted to create some ways that the internet, right, could reach out on your behalf. And look, I don't know, Kevin, you probably see, like if I was going to take a guess at what Kevin sees when he traverses the internet, and Randy, I don't know you well enough yet to make some guesses on yours, but Kevin probably sees like car stuff. I bet he's always getting ads for like car stuff, right? Because he loves remodeling old cars. And then you get real estate ads. And I'll bet that the internet's confused, Kevin, because you work for Brivity, so you're on a lot of agent sites. And then you also are an agent. So like the Zillows of the world know who you are. So I'll bet you see some combination of ads when you're online that's related to cars, related to being an agent, and then related to like they're treating you like a home buyer and seller who's actively in the market to buy or sell. Like my guess is that's what Kevin's ads look like on the internet. Am I close? Yeah. Mine, I love tennis shoes. I generally have a couple pairs under my desk. I love baseball caps. So I see hats and shoes like aggressively everywhere I go on the internet, Facebook, when I'm on the apps I play. And then they also treat me, Kevin, like a real estate consumer because I actually am looking for a lake house right now. And then they also treat me like I'm a real estate agent, right? I don't know, that's the function of working here at Brivity. So Zillow's always sending me ads and Realtor.com sending me ads, Boomtown's trying to get me to buy Boomtown, right? Then they're trying to get me to come to their website as a real estate consumer. We got all the listings, check it out, or what's your home worth, right? And then shoes and hats. Now, we can help you target the people in your database and treat them like a real estate consumer. Retargeting, what that is if they come to your website at all. So let's say we get all these listings when it's set up and they come to your website. We can start to retarget them in Facebook's ad environment with similar properties to the ones they've looked at on your website. So Randy, if they were on your site, they were looking in Bethesda at $600,000 properties on your website. Awesome. When they leave your site, we're going to follow them around in Facebook's ad environment. So Facebook and Instagram are the two major places, but Facebook's ad environment serves ads for a lot of websites and apps out there as well, right? And then Google serves ads for all the rest of the apps and the websites that you go to. So if you're seeing an ad on the internet, there's a really high likelihood it's being served by Facebook or by Google. Retargeting is to the Facebook world. We're constantly putting the right property in front of that person so that they are constantly being driven back to your website, right? We're not just relying on listing orders to drive them back. We're out there in their internet experience going, hey, Randy's got houses like the ones you were looking at 2 days ago on our website. You should come back. There's some new ones. Then we remarket to them. And this is through Google's display network, where we work with you to build some kind of a brand message that you just want to stamp into people's head. And then we just put it everywhere they go on the internet, right? And we don't care. Like this, the Fox News is on there. Awesome. They lean right and they go to Fox News. Randy, we'll have an ad on Fox News for you. If they lean left and they go to MSNBC, you'll be there too, right? If they get their news from their local Atlanta Constitution Journal, you'll be on that, right? CNN, yep. Wall Street Journal, yep. Washington Post, she'll be there. The apps that they play in, like they're like, I'm done with the news. It's all doom and gloom. I want to play some Candy Crush and cheer myself up. They go to Candy Crush. Randy will be on
Wordle. It's Wordle.
Yeah, well, I don't think they have ads yet, but the New York Times just bought Wordle, so there'll be ads on there.
They'll have ads, yeah, shortly.
Right, which means Randy will be like, hey, if you need help with your Wordle, call me because I've already got the answer. I did it this morning, right? Remarketing and retargeting. We can really help you guys just continually be kind of omnipresent when your prospects are online. There's two other things. One other thing. Oh, okay. We have this concept. We call it the database turnover rate, and the number one way. Okay, and this does maybe get Kevin towards what we talked about in the very beginning, which is you might have to work some more hours. But look, really what you need to do is have a daily commitment to being in your database. And on our teams, that daily commitment lasts for 3 hours. We do it from 9 to noon, right? Unless you have an appointment in our world, if you have a buyer or seller appointment, awesome, go do that. If you don't, our teams are committed between 9 and noon. They're in their database and they're prospecting. And here's how we factor our database turnover rate. I'm going to show you guys this in Pedro's account here. This is a team that this year will do over 200 transactions. They have a killer business. They're aggressive. And so this is their call report inside of Brivity. And a couple things that we look at every single month on every single team. We're looking at this for every single agent because there's a massive correlation between these numbers and productivity. This is how many total contacts Pedro has in his database. Now, this includes all of his people, right? All of his active, plus anything he has in inactive. So he's only got like 200 leads in inactive, but he's got 14,820 contacts. In the last 30 days, by the way, Randy, I think you saw this with me yesterday. They've tacked on 300 calls, right? Like the day that dropped off, the day that they added, there was 300 additional, right? Because yesterday they were at 5,500. But okay, so they've made 5,800 calls. This is a massive volume, by the way. This is one of the best showings. Maybe it's part of why I'm showing it to you, but one of the best showings of any of our teams. Okay, 5,800 calls in the last 30 days. So what I do, and I'm going to pull my calendar or my calculator out right here, is I take how many leads do we have, 14,820, and I divide it by how many did we call in the last 30 days, right? In the last month. And the number when I divide 5,866 into 14,820, I get 2.526 to be exact, but 2.5. What this tells me is Pedro's team will turn their database over with a phone call every 2.5 months. Let that sink in for a second. Go do your number right now. If you have Brivity, go pull up this call activity report. Go do your number. This will tell you, guys, there's lots of teams out there that this number is like 35, right? It'll take them 35 months to get one phone call into everybody in the database. We have a formula that we run also to show us how much business is in my database. I'll do that on Pedro's really fast. So the home ownership rate in Miami-Dade County, that's where Pedro does business. He sells in Miami-Dade County. The owner occupied housing rate is 51.2%. That means for every 100, this is one of the lowest in the country, by the way, but for every 100 homes, 51 of them are lived in by the homeowner. So some quick math, I could come in here for Pedro and I could say he's got 14,820 contacts in this database. If his home ownership rate is 51% times 0.51, there's 7,558 is 14,820 times 51% home ownership rate. In his database right now, there's approximately 7,500 homeowners. NAR tells us, you can go to there. It's on there. It's called the Generational Trends Report, the home buyer and home seller generational trends report. Your NAR realtor dollars go to pay for it. But NAR tells us in that the median amount of time that people live in their home is 10 years. So that just means half the people sell it in sooner than 10, half the people live in it for longer than 10. But let's just say people move on average every 10 years. And some of your markets a little bit longer and some it's a little bit shorter. That means 1/10 of people will move this year. If he has 7,558 homeowners in his database and 1/10 of them are going to move, there's 758 transactions in Pedro's database this year. And then next year, then the year after that. Now his database is going to keep growing, which is going to give him more potential transactions in there. We do this with our individual agents when they go and say, I want to do this many deals this year. We run the math for them and we say, look, if that's true, you'd have to capture every single deal that was going to happen in your database this year. So we're either going to need to grow your database because that's not realistic. There was a real high correlation between how much of that business we get and how often we get through the database. Here's why, Kevin. You don't sell people houses. Like I use this to kind of joke all the time, or this My wife was a cell phone salesperson in the mall at 18 years old. She's now like one of the top 1% earners in sales in the world, and her sales cycle is really long. But way back then, those were point of sale sales for her. You'd walk in the mall with a cell phone in your pocket, Randy, she'd sell you a different one. You'd walk out of there like, what just happened? Right? That's not how you guys sell house. Like, you never call somebody and they're like, Randy, I love my house. I'm going to live here until I die. Like, I love this place. You would never get, you're like, oh yeah, what about this script? And they're like, okay, let's do it. Let's sell right now. Like, that's not what happens, right? You guys show up. And one day you show up and they say something like, it's funny you called me today, Kevin. My wife and I were just talking 2 nights ago about what we're going to do the next stage. The kid's getting ready to move out. We're going to be empty nesters. And in his head, it was like serendipitous that Kevin called 2 days after. But Kevin's been following up with this dude for 3 years, every 3 months, right? With his reminders in his database and sending him market reports. And Kevin just showed up at the right time. And if we believe that, right, if we kind of resign to the fact that we don't, sometimes you might find somebody, Randy, that like they want to buy a house and don't think they can, and then you educate them and now they can buy a house, and so they're excited, but they wanted to the whole time, right? It's rare that you're going to find somebody that doesn't want to buy or sell, and then you get them on the phone today and give them some script and they're like, okay, let's do it. Maybe it happens every once in a while. What happens more frequently is you're just showing up. When you show up, they're ready. They happen to be ready right when you show up, which is why our teams that get through and contact the database more frequently as opposed to less frequently have a much higher likelihood of being the person that person does business with. Randy, we talked about this the other day. Like, and again, in that NAR, here, let me just pull this over. Like in this NAR home buyer and seller survey here. Let me see. You guys can see that now, Kevin, right? Somewhere in that survey, it's, what percent, it's in the 70th percentile of buyers and up into the 77th percentile, I think, of sellers meet one agent. They interview one agent. They invite one agent over to their house. They go out and meet at Starbucks with one agent for a buyer consultation. They meet one agent. So often, that's going to be like the last agent that showed up, which is why we want to make sure in our databases we are showing up as consistently as possible. And we help you do that with a dialer. This is the last thing that I'll show you guys. We've got a dialer inside of Brivity. You can do sessions of 50 dials at a time. It's not a crazy triple line dialer like Mojo. It's a single line dialer. But here's what I found. It saves our agents about 20 seconds a phone call. And that seems 20 seconds. Big deal, Kevin, right? 20 seconds. I want you to look at this person right here. Now, 1,700, this is a massive, astronomical big number. Like, very few people in our world are making that kind of call volume, right? But this is his dialer dials. Now, he made some manual ones, right? But we got on the dialer and made 1,765 dials. And every dialer dial saved him 20 seconds of having to dial that person's phone number. We sat and timed people, agents who are good in Brivity, who know how to move through a database, who've made thousands of phone calls this month already or this year already. We timed how long it take them when they manually dial, right? They go into the next lead, they look it up, they type it into their phone. From the hang up on the last call to being into a ring on the next call, how long? 20 seconds on average. Okay. Think about that. It's every 3 minutes. So 1,765 dials he made on the dialer. Every 3 of those dials saved him a minute. So he saved 588 minutes. That's in a month. That's 9.8 hours. He saved almost 10 hours not dialing the phone this month. Now, you think, I'm not going to make 1,700 calls. Cool. What if you made 300 calls on the dialer? That'd be 100 minutes you would have saved this month. It'd be like an extra hour and a half, Kevin. You could have, I know what you would have done. He either would have taken his wife out to dinner, or she was like, I'm sick of you, leave me alone. He would have went out in the garage and worked on that car with those 90 minutes, right? And that car would be 90 minutes closer to Kevin rolling it through 6th Street on Austin. The dialer. Please use the dialer. Promise you, we don't see agents that get the volume of calls we just saw there without the dialer. It's the secret weapon. Now, if you're not a Brivity client, you can text platform. You can pull your phone out right now. Text platform to 59559. And then you can book on a calendar of one of our people if you'd like to take a demo, see the underneath the hood, look at the CRM, check out the websites, ask questions about quickly. And if you're not a Brivity client, you do a demo with our team as a thank you, whether you sign up or not. We give you the Ben Kinney team's listing presentation. If you're a current Brivity client, by the way, you can get that. Just reach out to our support team. We have a link we can share with you that gives you Ben's, and it's an editable format where you can go in and copy, R&D it, we call, right? Rip off and duplicate it. We don't care. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully you guys picked something up in here that you can turn around right now and go put into play in your business. Randy, Kevin, thanks for joining me. It's so much funner than like talking to no faces. And like I know when my jokes land a little bit better when you guys I can see on the screen. So appreciate it. Walt, thanks for joining us, bud. Kimberly, Russ, Shannon, Takia. You guys have an awesome afternoon. She is Randy. He's Kevin. My name's Bob Stewart. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Khalid. Thanks, Billy. No, Billy. Billy's funny. Were you telling jokes? No, I don't have any jokes, Billy. Appreciate you, Kevin. Talk to you guys later. Bye.